Kia ora, this is my review of some of the last ever LEGO Justice League sets for the DC Superheroes line. God, I hope that this thing returns. This is the LEGO Superman and Krypto team-up set and the LEGO Lex Luthor Mech Takedown. Both sets were released in 2018 under the DC line, which I recently began covering. I wanted to talk about these two sets I love so much because in hindsight, we just didn't know how good we had it. As of 2023, this is the last time that we ever had Justice League in the forms of LEGO sets. This was the last time that we saw Superman in a LEGO set. He was later released in a CMF series, but I don't count that as a set, sorry, that's just a me thing. We've also never had a comic-styled Wonder Woman released since this set, but she did have a movie set that came out and she was also in the CMF. It goes without saying, but no Krypto, no Lex Luthor. Not only did we never have another chance at a Lobo, but we never will again, because I don't even know how Lobo managed to pass on through the first time. These sets ended up having some tie-ins with the LEGO DC Villains game that released a little bit later on. I think it was in the next year. That game eventually made its way onto PlayStation Plus and Game Pass, I think, so by playing it and loving the game, I started to fall back in love with LEGO DC. The overview for the Lobo set is that you get his hog bike as well as a Kryptonite Prison for keeping Superman captive. The set also included Krypto the Superdog. As for the Luthor Mech, it contained a Batglider for Batman as well as Cheetah, Luthor, Wonder Woman and Firestorm, and a damn fine Lex Luthor Mech as well. We will start with the Lobo bike set, specifically the Prison. The Prison is a very simple build and it's very generous to believe that this would hold Superman, but I guess it's made out of kryptonite, so I love the vibrancy of the colours with this set. The greens and the purples match really well and the colour scheme works and it fits that Luthor Mech. There's a reason behind that, by the way, stay tuned. So the Prison has stickers on both sides, one showing that it's at some sort of a max capacity with something, the other one looks like it's Superman's vital signs. The Prison opens up on some hinges pretty easily, Superman just stands inside and stays put. For as simple as it is, it's not too bad. It kind of feels like something that I would find at a theme park for some set dressing. Given that I just really want to have a scene of LEGO DC displayed, I think that this works pretty well. This is Lobo's hog bike. It's gone through some various design changes over the years, but it still looks pretty recognizable. It's quite bulky though, some angles do look better than others, and if you're not a fan of oversized vehicles, this might not be your thing. The skull emblem at the front of the bike makes for a really cool build using some Nexonite parts and those teeth. It leads to the hydraulics and the body of the bike. The body is very oversized. Those gas tanks at the back allow the set to stand on its own pretty easily actually, which is pretty cool to see on a vehicle like this. There's a sticker on the back of the chair, though I don't know if this is a specific reference to something or maybe it's just accurate to the design. The chair has some optional movements about it as well. That lower section of the hog bike actually has an interactive feature. The build is supposed to be a bomb apparently, and it fits inside here. You can press on the flames at the back to drop the bomb down on Superman. The bomb is supposed to be used to break Superman free from the prison, so I guess Lobo isn't the antagonist of this set, I guess he's just anti-hero. It kind of acts more like a key if anything, that's what I thought it was. I thought it was just a key to get into the prison. It seemed to make more sense to me that way as well, rather than a bomb that opens this way. Here's the minifigure of the last ever LEGO Superman released in a set. I covered the very first release of Superman and now I'm covering his last. We're very poetic here on this channel. Superman here actually featured a redesign which LEGO don't often do, especially with these superhero characters like this. Superman now featured Poe Dameron's here, which is kind of nice. It fits that New 52 look, I think, which is funny because this is not who that's supposed to be. The CMF figure that was released is supposed to be the New 52 Superman, but that figure actually uses the traditional Superman here. Confusing, but anyway, importantly for me, Superman is actually smiling now. I love Superman as a character, and to me, a very important trait of his is positivity, and LEGO Superman over the years has had the hardest time smiling, so I'm glad that LEGO decided to give Superman a smile before they killed him. His double-sided face is the exact same angry, scary expression as before, real hero shot there. Krypto is such a great inclusion, and interestingly enough, this isn't his first appearance in LEGO. He was previously released in that DC Girls line as just one solid piece. He released in 3 sets in 2017. This is his first genuine appearance in a set and with a brand new mold. He even has some articulation. Krypto's design reminds me of the Scooby-Doo figure that they released. He takes up a good amount of studs and his headpiece allows for some rotates because it's separate from the body. And he even has a minifig style hand for holding items. He's one of the best things I think that came from the DC line. This is Lobo, first and likely only appearance in LEGO. He looks pretty perfect actually, but he lacks some weaponry. Understandable I guess though. He has Aquaman's hair in dark black and a cool leather jacket, though the jacket's not useful outside of him because of that pale white flesh tone. This is a better look at that double-sided face and his torso detailing and his back printing. They went all out on this figure, which is always exciting when LEGO decide to do a more mature figure for a kid set. He includes the energy container, which was included as a villain's accessory in all 3 sets released from this wave. Supposedly they can interact with the Luthor Mech, but I'm not actually too sure where all 3 of them are supposed to go. I also don't know what they're referencing. I suspect that it's something that's made up from LEGO's team and not something from comics, but who's to say? That's it for the really cool Lobo, Hog Bike, and Krypto first time appearance in LEGO. I really dig this set, but now it's time to move on to this beauty, the Lex Luthor Mech. I really wanted to talk about this one the moment I made the video on the first Lex Luthor Mech. I loved the original so much, so I was dying to see how this compares, and let me tell you, I don't think LEGO have released a better mech than this one. Still one of their best medium scaled mechs, because comparing it to Monkey Kid just isn't fair, let's be honest. The colours are immediately different from that remake, opting for a bit more purples and hints of gold throughout its design. It's a good colour scheme that works really well, and the set also has some sticker designs. That's disappointing to have stickers over prints, but it does add for some depth and details compared to that 2012 release. Let's go over his articulation here. He features the same movements as the last one, I believe, but he has some new ways of going about it. His feet are on these ball joints so they can rotate around freely, his legs use those bionicle connectors, but the build seems to have them permanently at bent knees. This sort of design of having someone permanently crouched usually bugs me, but for some reason it doesn't this time around. He's got free movements on his legs and feet. His shoulders feature those same bionicle connectors, and his arms are on the same ball joints, so his arms have the same movements as his legs. He has some fingers like the last mech, but this time it's not a gun that he's holding in his hand, it's a battle axe, kind of like Optimus Prime. The axe is a really cool design actually. Obviously this is made of kryptonite. I take it the gun last time didn't work so well. The axe blade itself is really nice, but I am let down on that handle. I really wish this handle was a lot thicker than it actually is. But I guess if it was, then it wouldn't be able to fit in his hand very well. That's actually my biggest issue here. The axe doesn't even look good when it's placed in the hand. I mentioned last time how much I love the gun in that other mech because it connects onto the build so well, and it really sells the illusion that the mech's fingers are actually gripping the gun. Well, they try that again here, but the fingers can't even reach halfway around the handle of the axe. So part of me thinks that the axe just should have been built in as an appendage to the arm instead of a separate item. Above the cockpit is a stud shooter loaded with a lot of ammunition. On the back of the mech are these thrusters which are on ball joints, so you could have some nice displayability there. It's now time to talk about the cockpit, which does something that I can't off the top of my head confidently say I've seen in a LEGO set before. The cockpit acts as an escape pod, and it can just simply lift off. It's a really nice tight space for Lex using those same pieces that keep Superman locked up. He has some control handles and a sticker design for the headrest. The way it slots into the mech is so simple. It just slides onto those Technic poles. It doesn't connect to them in any way, it just sits there. Unfortunately, I am regularly dropping this mech because I'm always trying to grab it from that section, so the mech just slips out underneath it, but maybe that's just a me problem. You could be smarter than me. This is the back glider that I mentioned at the very beginning, which, as if the set needed anything more to win me over, we have this thing. I dig it. I think it uses the exact right amount of parts needed for this. It doesn't feel like it's super oversized, it doesn't feel like it was a waste of parts. I really like its inclusion, and it's a rarity for Batman included vehicles. There are some stickers throughout the design for details, which is a little disappointing and maybe not super necessary. He's got some stud shooters and the flame pieces for some display. The wings have their own rotates and the engines do as well, like the mech. It's pretty cool, and it connects onto Batman via a neck brace. And speaking of, this is Batman. I maintain that the Batman from the 2018 DC sets, it is the best that LEGO has ever done with the comic book version of the character. Batman for me has always been the grey torso and black cape, so this is my nostalgic favourite look for that character. Sometime soon after the release of this figure, LEGO would start a new printing process on black heads, and the prints began to look objectively downright horrendous, and Batman did suffer from that fate. We received some awful looking Batman figures from the line later on, but this was the last great peak one. I'm not sure if the cape was omitted because it would be damaged against the wings, or maybe logically it was removed because the wings are supposed to act as the substitute for the cape. It's okay, I'm just gonna swap him out and give him a cape from one of my many different variants since it's my only 2018 Batman figure, and I love this one. After an excellent Batman figure, here we have an excellent Wonder Woman figure. She saw her fair share of changes throughout the years as well, with a bunch of new variants. In fact, I'm not sure if she actually had a bunch of regular re-releases like Batman and Superman did. I know the character was common amongst sets, but I think she had different variants and they were quite special. She had some significant upgrades from her 2012 self, and she uses a much better design in my opinion. Her stars and stripes undies are gone, and instead we have this really nice blue colored skirt printed on. Her chest armor is a bit more defined now, like you can see the hawk design. Her hairpiece with her crown is the same one because they just nailed that design right out the gate, and she does still include the same lasso of truth which can wrap around minifigures pretty easily. This is Firestorm, a character that I am not familiar with besides his appearance in Injustice 2. This is Jason Rush, the same variant of him in that game, so there is some familiar territory there for me. He uses that really cool flame headpiece that I believe was introduced for Ghost Rider. The headpiece is a minifigure head molded into the flame and it acts as one whole piece, no separating this head unfortunately. He included those flame pieces which can make a really nice display for him, which is always my favourite part of these specialised parts included in the superheroes line. And I love that niche heroes like him are added to the what was ever expanding roster. This even at the time felt like a one and done minifigure, so I'm glad that I have him. This is the Cheetah minifigure, who I could have sworn had released as a Mighty Micro figure before, but no, seems like she's only ever had 3 releases and this was her first. She included a spear and she contained the energy container that was unique to the set. She has some pretty simple prints but also uses that tail piece, and her expressions are really cool as well. I don't have too much to say about her, but I do like the inclusion of her for the same as Lobo, Krypto, and Firestorm. These smaller characters, or characters that hadn't been made into LEGO before, absolutely steal these sets for me. Here's the Lex Luthor figure, the second best attire for the character. My Lex was always wearing his suit, but as the years went on from 2012, Lex Luthor was regularly shown in power armor designs across other medias. LEGO made a handful of really cool looking power armor designs for Lex, and would make a really good one later on for the DC Villains game, but this is the iconic design that I was waiting for. The greens and purples mesh so well for me, even if it's just a plain vanilla figure. I wish he had some leg printing continuing that design though. I really wish that he had a confident snarky smile instead of the same deadpan one that they had reused before. It still looks like a Lex Luthor, but Lex and Superman were always produced in LEGO with such a negative expression, always. And for me personally, I need my Superman positive and I want my Lex Luthor looking confident. But now it's time for the combining. The set's instructions advertise that you can combine these two together, hence why the color scheme is the same on both sets. The prison hooks up to the back of the mech via these connectors, and now Lex can carry Superman on, well, you can tell where. Honestly, yeah, they lost me. Even when I built the prison on its own, I just knew that this would look really bad altogether. The side parts hang out too far, the legs and top part of the mech change in size too drastically for this to look like it's normal and complete. It's a funny inclusion because it just makes it look like Lex has a giant ass, but I think I'll keep them separate instead. Instructions for both sets are as follows. It's that minimal theming that we had for some years in the instructions. The advertisement for the Lobo set shows the power armor combining with the Lobo prison. That's how I knew that we could do it. And we also have the character roster. I've not shown you the set featuring Killer Frost and Reverse Flash. This is a set that I do not have, and I have been on the lookout for some years now, but the last time I saw the set available on the secondhand market, they wanted like 160 NZ for it. That's not happening, sorry. And there's a little thing here for those Mighty Micros. I have never bought a single one of these. LEGO Life promo, I don't know what that is. For the Lex Luthor Mech, it's the exact same except the manual features sets from the LEGO Batman movie as well. I'm led to believe that this was the final wave for this line. It featured some excellent sets though. The little buggy with Captain Boomerang, the Justice League Party set, the Egghead Mech, and the Gentleman Ghost, which is probably the worst one of the bunch. This was my retrospective look at the absolute peak of the LEGO DC Justice League line. Of all the themes that I wish to see a return, I actually think that this is the one, and I'm a huge advocate for just about every single licensed theme returning. The thing that I say about SpongeBob or Lord of the Rings or Indiana Jones though is that while there's absolutely so much more potential to be done with those lines, they had endings. Seemingly they had full releases. The LEGO DC line wasn't even cancelled, but it's just had its life completely sucked dry and fused into the Batman theme with this really weird never say never type promise. But it's been 5 years, where are the Justice League? I really don't want to have to wait until Superman Legacy releases for more Superman based sets. I loved the Batman movie line from last year, but I need my comic based sets as well, or cartoon based sets, anything outside of the movies. I love them both equally, but I can't just have one of them from here on. If you enjoyed this review, liking and subscribing does help to support this channel. Subscribing helps to keep up to date with all of our other retro reviews that we'll be doing, superheroes and beyond. Take care.